welcome to your new week this week. We are still on ordering real numbers. So me and Miss Green are continuing to go over that, and we're going to have an extra video on that just to make sure you understand it, right, Miss Green?
That's right.
So today we will be ordering real numbers by approximating their values. We talked about this last week. To order a real number, first things first, convert them all to decimals. If you really want to, convert them to fractions, but the decimals will be the best choice. Then you're going to compare each decimal to each place. So if I have 6.101, I have to compare it to 6.121. Okay, is the 6.1? That's the same thing. Then I look at the 0 and the 2. Well, which one's greater, 0 or 2? The 2 will be greater. So when I put this on a number line, and I've got 6 and 7, I'd have the 101 right there, and then right next to it would be 6.121.
If you want to compare them a little bit differently, when I used to teach this long time ago, if you just put them right on top of each other, which I know some of you guys are thinking this is ridiculous, I can do it without without rewriting it, but you see your 6s are the same, your 1s are the same, and right here, this is where I'm going to have to compare, and you say, oh, this one's going to be bigger. So now we know that this one is going to be our larger number because of that place value.
Yes.
That's just another little way to see your numbers.
Yes, and one thing you have to remember, if these were negatives, this one is actually smaller because it goes further down that negative.
Remember,
so just something to remember.
The further to the left it is on a number line, the less it is.
Yes. So let's look at an example. Put these numbers in order from least to greatest. I have negative square root of 3, square root of 36 over square root of 4, 3.1, negative 3/4, and square root of 108 over square root of 3.
Okay, just to reiterate, this is a negative, and this is also a negative. Moving on.
So we had said first things first, convert them all to decimals. Great. I'm going to use my handy dandy little calculator here. Negative square root of 3 is negative 1.732.
A lot of you guys have asked me, how many decimal places do we need to estimate to? I would just do the first 2 or maybe 3, and then if you notice that you have 2 that are the same, then you want to take it a little bit further. But usually the second or the third digit is totally fine.
Exactly. I just seem to like 3s for some reason. I don't know why I like that thousandths
I usually
place.
do twos,
so
but everyone's different, so it
exactly.
doesn't matter.
Square root of 36 over square root of 4. A lot of you are going, that's a lot of square root. But square root of 36 is what, Miss Green?
I think it's 6.
It is 6. Square root of 4 is
2.
Oh, wait. 6 divided by 2?
Isn't that 3?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that was so simple.
That was like the easiest thing I've ever seen. Then we've already got 3.1 as a decimal. Then we have negative 3/4, which again, this is something you should know automatically. Negative 0.75. That one scares me, Miss Green.
I don't think I know the square root of 108 because it's an irrational number. However, I do know that if I just plug into my calculator the square root of 108 and then divided by the square root of 3, look at that, enter, it's 6. Now, some of you guys are probably thinking, oh my gosh, that was incredible. But here's the thing, guys. If you just divide 108 by 3, can you show that on the calculator real quick? 108 divided by 3 is 36. What's the square root of 36? 6. Done and done.
Nice. So one thing I do want to caution you when you're using your calculator on this, you have to be careful when you put in that square root of 108 first. If you went, let me put in my divisions in. 108 divided by the square root of 3, if you didn't move that square root over at first, like you were done with it, you're going to end up with the square root of 108 divided by the square root of 3.
So you need to be real careful with that.
So if you see a double line above that, that means you've done something wrong.
Take a look and make sure that your square roots are separate.
Yes.
Okay, now let's order them.
Okay. In the other video, we did mention too, separate your positives and negatives. I'm sorry, I forgot to put that in this video. Just remember, separate your positives and negatives. So
which you guys are pre-AP. You don't even need to do that because you guys are smarter than us anyway.
Exactly. So if I have my positives and negatives, I've got negative 1.732 over here and negative 0.75. Which one of those is smaller?
I think it's going to be the one that has a larger digit because it's further to the left.
Correct. So I actually have them in order from least to greatest so far. Look at that. Woohoo. So I can mark those out. I'm left with just my positives. The next would be 3. And then I'm going to look, that 0.1, 3.1 is greater than 3. And 6 comes last.
All done. Now, of course, on any given test that's going to be multiple choice, you're going to have these numbers down here.
That's right. Write it as in the original forms.
Right,
yes.
the original form, which we usually do, but obviously we've run out of space.
Yes.
Anyway,
Sorry.
moving on.
Now, oh, this problem is so pretty. Miss Green, Miss Newsom, and Coach Groves all have their favorite real numbers. Miss Green's favorite is the greatest of all the numbers. Miss Newsom's is less than Coach Groves, but greater than 0. Coach Groves is irrational. What is Miss Newsom's number?
We're going to give you a few minutes to think about that and come up with your own answer, and then we will tell you what the answer is.
So when we look at this one,
If you need more time, pause it.
yeah, if you need more time, mine will have a question. You have to answer it anyway. So when you look at this one, you have to look at Miss Green's the greatest. We didn't need that information at all. Great. Miss Green was the greatest. We all know Miss Green's amazing.
Miss Green is the greatest.
Then you go, Miss Newsom's is less than Coach Groves, but greater than 0. Cool. Coach Groves is irrational. What's the irrational number?
Pi.
And Miss Newsom's was greater than 0. This was Miss Green's because it was the greatest. We're left with 2.5. So Miss Newsom's number was 2.5.
So if you have any questions on this, just make sure you come see us. Hope you enjoyed the video. We love you all. See you next time. Peace out.